Hello everyone. So today I wanted to talk about something that I get asked a lot while I'm streaming, and that is how I improved so quickly at chess. I was around 800 ELO in early 2021, and I was able to get all the way up to 2200 in early 2023. So in just 2 years, that is a huge improvement, and I think a lot of people are wanting to do the same. So I wanted to provide you guys with a few tips that I think helped me along the way and may help you guys too. Number one is play longer time controls. Pretty much here, the longer the time control, the better it's going to be. While Bullet and Blitz is a lot of fun, all the streamers play it, it's instant gratification, quickly getting rating points, you get to attack, you get to win some games by sometimes just shuffling your king around. It is not going to help you in the long run, I'm going to be honest with you. Because longer time controls like rapid and classical, you're really going to have to be calculating. And developing your calculating skills is a huge, huge, huge part of improving at chess. So if you can play long time controls like 30 minutes, 15 plus 10, even if you can rope in some of your friends to playing some classical chess with you online, here you get to actually take your time, think about what you're doing, and think about what your opponent's plans are, and so on. And one thing that I used to do, which is probably a bit tedious, but I think it's a great example of what you're wanting to think about while you're playing these long time controls. While I was playing a 30-minute game, I used to open up like a Word document in my next monitor, and I would just write down with every single move, what was I trying to do here? What am I attacking? And then I would write down the same for my opponent. What was the purpose of their move? How long it took them, whatever. So while you don't have to waste your time making a million Word documents for all your games, I would say that take that thinking as part of your games. Try and think about with every move what your opponent is trying to do. Sometimes it's not completely obvious. Sometimes there is a sneaky revealed attack on your queen and you don't even notice it until you actually just start thinking, why have they randomly moved this piece here? Doesn't make much sense. Oh, they're trying to attack my queen or whatever. So, just taking the time to think about these moves is going to help you a lot. And this goes on into my next tip, which is number two, analyze your games. And ideally, if you're a beginner, get a coach or a friend to help you out with this because that's going to decode the engine's absolute mumbo jumbo that it gives you. And I would say if you don't have a lot of time to analyze, just look at critical mistakes and critical winning tactics as well. While it is tempting to just look back on the games that you think you played well in to check if you did a brilliant move, which I am definitely guilty of, it's really going to be more helpful to analyze your losses because that's going to help you identify your weaknesses and work out what you need to improve on. Number three is practice your tactics. And I'm sure you've heard this a lot of times before, but I think this is the quickest way to see the study that you're doing actually manifest in your games. Pattern recognition is a really big part of chess and it's going to help you improve your ELO if you work on this. So just devote maybe an hour or however much time that you have each day into working on your tactics. There's many websites that you can do puzzles on. It just depends on what you want to get out of it. But I think a great way to have targeted learning is a website called Aimchess. So Aimchess takes puzzles from your games themselves, so it's going to actually help you more with identifying your weaknesses and working on those weaknesses. And one huge tip for puzzles is calculate the entire line before you move a piece. I see a lot of people doing this thing where they go, "Oh, this looks like the move, so I'm just going to do it." And you might be right, but it's really important for your calculation skills to really be thinking about the entire line before you move it. Make sure you've got it all calculated before you move the piece. Now, it's okay to reevaluate the position once you move a piece if you think you made an error with the calculation, but just try your best to calculate as far as you can. This is also going to help you in your actual games themselves because say something looks like a tactic, well, in the games themselves, if you move the piece, you can't just take it back and try again. If your opponent has some tactic or some counterplay or something like that, then you might just lose the game. If instead you calculate the whole thing before moving, then you're able to avoid some mistakes. Number four is pick an opening repertoire. Basically just decide on what kind of chess that you'd like to play. Is it aggressive? Is it positional? Is it solid? What are you wanting to do? Decide on an opening repertoire where the openings work well together. So pick an opening that you're going to play as white and then also pick something that you want to play against e4 with the black pieces and d4 as well. While just rote memorizing moves for openings is a waste of time, I think it's very important to become very familiar with the ideas in your opening. Look at how masters play them, for example. See how they develop a plan and position. For example, in a lot of openings, there's going to be particular plans on pushing pawns on a certain side of the board, or putting a piece on a certain square, or making particular pawn breaks in the position. And if you know what kind of pawn breaks or plans are very thematic in your openings, it's going to help you with creating plans in your actual games. Okay, my next tip is work on your end games. I think if you ask most people under 2000 what they're struggling with at the moment, they're going to say end games. They're going to say they suck at end games. I was definitely in the same boat too, and I fortunately did not really have to study end games until I reached around 1800. But once I did, I felt like I improved so much at chess, and it's very satisfying to be able to convert positions, know when they're winning, remove some of that uncertainty that you feel in the end games. So, a recommendation for studying endgames is 100 endgames you must know. There is a Chessable course on this, but there is also a physical book as well. It goes through pretty much the most common endgames without getting too convoluted or confusing, and it explains the endgames in a understandable way. So I think that this book is worth getting for your endgames. Now, lastly, I'll say study master games, and that kind of follows on what I was talking about before with studying openings. A lot of people, for example, will be really strong in tactics puzzles, but they won't know how to actually reach positions that give way to these tactics. So, looking at master games can give you an idea of how you're going to actually build an attack to get the tactics going. So, older games like Morphy games are really good for this because it just shows you how to absolutely crush your opponents with an attack. Now, some other books and that sort of thing that I will recommend for you is Yasser Seirawan's Winning Tactics. That is really, really good for tactics. I know there's plenty of puzzles and that sort of thing online, but if you want a book that just categorizes all the tactics, explains some backstory, lots of good examples, then this is a great book. It's good for beginners, intermediates, and there's also some really hard puzzles at the end which allow you to think very creatively. And also, as I recommended before, 100 Endgames You Must Know. And the book that I used to study my openings, I don't necessarily recommend that you get this, but this is what helped me. I used the book Modern Chess Openings. And I thought this is good because basically anything that you want to learn, anything that you want to understand, it is in that book. You can find any opening in there. It is great. It is great for knowing any opening, and also it has a bunch of reference games where you can see how the game might continue from a certain position rather than just like reaching move 10 and the coach says, okay, now you have to do it all by yourself. But I don't think that getting this book is a necessity. If you're wanting to look at a particular line, you can just look at the openings explorer on chess.com, and I think that's plenty enough. Okay, and I also want to talk about chess content creators because I think there's a bunch of very underrated content creators that you guys should check out if you're wanting to learn some things. While it's good to just sometimes watch some entertaining chess videos for fun, if you're wanting to learn something, here are some recommendations for you. For your openings, Hanging Pawns, the YouTube channel, is really, really good for this. I think he explains things very concisely, very clearly, doesn't leave a stone unturned. He is great over there, so check him out. Also, something that I watched when I was first beginning chess again is Ben Feingold's lectures at the St. Louis Chess Club. I think he was giving them to a bunch of kids, and while you might be thinking, these are lectures for kids, they're actually really, really useful, so check out the lectures that are on there. They're free, so that's the best thing about that. And also, there's Andrew Toth, who's an Australian as well. He's got a lot of videos on chess books that he recommended. I recommended a few here, but he's really broken them down into beginner, intermediate, advanced, and so on. So watch his videos. He's got some in-depth lessons on there as well. And also, a content creator that you probably already know, but a person that I think is the best channel to learn from for intermediate players is Daniel Naroditsky. His lessons are really, really good because they're not just aimed at complete beginners. And while it's great to have a lot of beginner content out there, once you get a little bit stronger, you start to find that not a lot of the educational content is aimed at your level. So check out Daniel's videos as well if you haven't already. And that is my advice for improving at chess. If you guys want any other information or any other advice from me, you're welcome to ask it in the comments and I'll try and give you guys a bit more clarity in how I improved. Have a wonderful day, everyone.